right, just a brief history. I bought the car in 2005. I had looked for maybe 30 years. Either had the money, didn't have the money. Had several sold out from under me. Some of them I looked at were rusted to the ground. So I'd finally given up. And my brother and I went to California, and we were each going to get a kit car. I said it. I was going to get a Speedster kit car. Went out there with him. He ordered his on the spot. I was trying to decide whether to put a Carrera shroud on it or not. It was an extra $1,000. And I've been looking on eBay since eBay started. And I get home, go on eBay, and this car is for sale and payable. I called the guy up, went down there and bought it. So I came really close to not having it. A little history on the car. It has paperwork back to 1970, and then there's some of the 80s is missing. Of course, nothing in the 90s. But I think I'm the 7th owner. The car is just about to turn 298,000 miles on the chassis. It's obviously been taken care of. That's the paint that was on it when I bought it. It had just been resprayed, and that's only the second time. It's the original color. Also, the car was in a TV show for 8 years called The Vampire Diaries. This is from 09 to 17. And the picture car captain was very good to me. Even though it's not.
I painted it 25 times from them walking across the top of the car.
Well, what a picture car captain does, anything with wheels on it, he's got to find for either the movie or the TV show. And lo and behold, he called Ray. These guys know everybody. And it's between me and another former club member, I can't remember his name, lives there. But he had a red car, but he traveled a lot, and he didn't want anybody coming to get his car without him being there. Well, I happened to be unemployed in 2009, 10, and 11. So for 3 years, I went with the car, drove the car to wherever they were filming. It was a different place every time. It's quite an experience. I got paid nicely, not enough, but it's pretty good. Even if I showed up and they had pre-written the show, I still had my check. The reason I mentioned the picture car captain, every time when they were done, he would walk around the car with me, inside and out, and make sure everything was okay. Well, there was a scene one year, just happened to be at one of the bridges where what was remember when they were murdering kids?
Yeah.
Williams. Well, this scene was at that bridge, which is spooky enough. Of course, it's at night and it's foggy. But the scene was the lead actor and actress were arguing in the car. Of course, this was shot on a trailer, with cameras mounted on the trailer with them back and forth. But when they asked me if I wanted to do it, I said, well, it has to have a professional driver, because the moron that was the lead actor, I didn't even want to be in the car, let alone driving it, and let alone putting it in a skid. So I gave them 3 tries, and they came down the hill, and they were yelling at each other. They'd show the car, and they'd show the leaves flying, and it's a pretty exciting scene. Well, before I let them do that, I said, I want new tires. I want the brakes, the steering, all this stuff checked out afterwards. I was driving home that night, and the doors were rattling like crazy. It was an angry scene. So every time I got out, they slammed the door. So I called Ray, and I said, fix them. So he tightened them back up. But Ray and I have gone, ever since I bought the car, I've been going to Ray off and on, again, depending on circumstances, especially him moving up to Jasper. But here we are. Like I said, I blew the engine up about a year after I got it. I was watching the oil and everything, but it ran out one day, and I was in the very left lane of the connector. And it was all I could do to coast over to the right side and down the ramp. And so Steve did that. But over the years, Ray has maintained the car off and on. But back to the Vampire Diaries before I forget. Andy came to me after a set, and he said, I want to show you something. So, the license plate has 4 bolts, and that little thing moves. So the lead actress sat on the bumper, and I told them over and over, don't sit on the car, don't lean on the car. Well, she sat on the bumper and leaned back and pushed the top two bolts into the paint. I would have never seen it, ever. But that's the kind of guy he was. He said, well, what do you want me to do? And I said, well, normally I would want you to paint the car, but I mean, where do you stop? And you got to take everything out. But I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get Ray to give me a price for painting the car, and we're going to do a new interior. So you see the PITA, the seats, the carpet, new windshield, headliner, door panel, everything is courtesy of the Vampire Diaries.
Awesome.
So that's all I can think of at the moment. I really appreciate you coming. I need witnesses.
What were the circumstances?
The circumstances. So every year in Highlands they have an event in June, and this year they featured the Porsche mark. And so I got accepted, believe it or not, because this car has no provenance other than Vampire Diaries, but I got accepted. And I've been up there before, but they weren't particular. I mean, if you wanted to come pay the money, they let you go. So I left that morning. I was going to drive to work half a day, and then going up to Highlands. Well, I live in the city. I live in Virginia Highlands. There's a little cut through before you get to the Buford connector, which gets you to the downtown connector, then you take the exit 75 north. Well, as I was heading up the Buford connector ramp, I heard a noise, and it wasn't loud, it wasn't a crash, it was just disconcerting. And so I was able to coast, because when you first get up that ramp, there's only like that much space to pull over. And I wanted to do that because traffic is 90 miles an hour. So I finally coasted down, people blowing their horns at me, and pulled over. And of course, didn't know what was wrong with it, still don't. But was able to get it towed home. And that was middle of June, here we are, August. Well, you go through a cycle of tears and everything, and especially not knowing what it was, and everybody that I talked to had their ideas of what it might be. But in any event, here we are. I brought it up here about 3 weeks ago. We're waiting on a Saturday that was available, and so we're off.
Here we
running.
got it now.
Yes.
Okay, diagnosing this, the first reaction is going to be, why do you think it's a broken crankshaft? And in this case, it was pretty easy because we locked the flywheel after we got it out of the car. And you can't move the back end of it. But if you put a wrench on the front pulley, you'll see that there's movement. Hear it? It's not moving there. And it's not moving in the back. So that tells you automatically kaput. And so that led to today. Now, I'm going to go into this because I've already prepped it to come apart. I'm not going to ask y'all to sit here while we do screws and stuff. So with that, Lewis is going to be Vanna.
What year is the engine?
Oh, it's a 1964 C.
The car came from the factory as a normal. The engine was a normal. And at some point in its life, like a lot of normal engine cars, it was replaced.
Okay, there are 4 bolts that hold the carburetors on, 4 on each side. Normally, you take all that stuff loose, and then the carburetors can be easily removed. These are not stock air filters. These are from, I don't know what they are.
Yeah, but they sound good.
So like the shop.
No, they're
Okay.
I've got the original canisters.
Pull the spark plug wires and the spark plug be removed, and then you start taking apart sheet metal. And
Careful, Ray.
Yeah, ground, girl.